Zeriam Golden Wind is a really cool Griffin commander, and of course, Griffins, as we all know, are just they're all terrible. Most of them are terrible. Like 90% of them they're pretty bad. So this makes them a little bit better. Whenever you're a Griffin, you control this combination of the player. You create a 2/2 white Griffin. So if you do damage with 3 different Griffins, you'll get 3 2/2s. This is partially a Griffin tribal deck. This is partially a tokens deck. This is partially an enchantment deck. That's just kind of how you have to play it when you do Griffins. All right, let's get into the Griffins. Most Griffins are they're just awful. They're mostly just small French vanilla creatures that cost way too much. So first off, we've got a prized Griffin, a silverbeak Griffin, and a wild Griffin. The only one with a fair cost is probably silverbeak Griffin, but it's just a 2/2 with flying, and the other ones are just Griffins with flying. There's not much else to say. Then we have Abbey Griffin, Armored Griffin, Diving Griffin, and Griffin Sentinel. These all have flying and vigilance. Again, they cost way too much for what they are and what they do. Ekund Griffin, Peregrine Griffin, and Razorfoot Griffin, and Silverclaw Griffin. These are all flying first strike. Courier Griffin and Sky Streamer Griffin both enter to gain you some life. And if you want to have a teammate, Sky Streamer Griffin has assist. Charging Griffin and Griffin Protector each get bigger when something happens. Charging Griffin when it attacks, and Griffin Protector when another creature enters under your control. Fearless Fledgling and Fledgling Griffin both have landfall triggers, and Fearless Fledgling, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then Fledgling Griffin just gain flying on landfall. Daraja Griffin and Unyaro Griffin both have some other utility. They're flying, of course, and you can sacrifice Daraja Griffin to destroy a black creature, or Unyaro Griffin sacrifices to counter a red instant or sorcery. I'm telling you, these are like the cream of the crop for Griffin. I'm not even lying. Griffin Dreamfinder, Harrier Griffin, and Matenda Griffin all have some sort of utility. Griffin Dreamfinder returns an enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. Harrier says at the beginning of your upkeep you tap a creature, so that's neat. And then Matenda Griffin, you can pay a white and tap it to return it to its owner's hand, and return a target Griffin from your graveyard to your hand, but you can only use that during your upkeep. So there's some utility on these guys. Decorated Griffin just prevents 1 damage that would be dealt to you this turn if you pay that. Tethered Griffin is a 1-mana 2/3, which is cool with flying, but if you control no enchantments, you sacrifice it. So it's way ahead of its curve, but again, this is why we have to have the enchantment sub-theme. And Griffin Rider, this is not actually a Griffin, but it's actually a really good Griffin card, because as long as you control one, it gets +3/+3 in flying. Zuberi, Golden Feather, is the old Griffin commander. It's just a Griffin Lord that gives all your Griffins +1/+1. All right, how are you going to get these super obviously terribly high cost Griffins out on the battlefield? Well, we're going to have a Herald's Horn, Oketra's Monument, and Pearl Medallion, making things cost 1 less. We're also going to have a Heraldic Banner, Marble Diamond, and a Soul Ring, and they're just some rampy type things. Heraldic Banner also gives your white creatures +1/+0, and this is mono white, so there we go. Archaeomancer's Map, Knight of the White Orchid, Land Tax, Loyal Warhound, Solemn Simulacrum, Weathered Wayfarer. These are all just basic white mana ramp that are they're here, and they're also part of this video here. This is about white mana ramp. There's not much of it, so there you go. Gauntlet of Power, and this one enters, we're going to choose white, of course. All our creatures of the chosen color are going to get +1/+1, and then it doubles our planes when they tap. Now moving on, how are we going to win with these things? Well, this is a very straightforward deck, so I'm just going to put out some straightforward answers. Sephara Sky's Blade is not a Griffin, but it gives all your other creatures with flying indestructible, so that's pretty nice. Honor of the Pure and In the Trenches are both Anthem effects, and In the Trenches can exile non-land permanents, which is pretty awesome. And we have some white overrun effects. We've got For the Emperor and Rally of Wings, just gives all our creatures a +2/+2 buff. For the Emperor also gives vigilance and lifelink, and Rally of Wings untaps all our creatures, and then all our creatures with flying just get the +2/+2, so that's kind of nice. And then this is kind of a token deck, so we've got a Mondrak, Glory Dominus, creates extra tokens and such. And then we've got Authority of the Consuls. This one's not really a win con type thing, but it kind of slows our opponents down, and it just kind of helps try to keep our Griffins ahead. All right, now we got some card draw. We just got Rumor Gatherer and Welcoming Vampire. This draws a card when certain things are met. Benny Brax and Idol of Oblivion. Again, if we make a token, we draw a card. Folk Hero is just pretty awesome. You draw cards when you cast Griffins, all right? Archivist of Ogma, Esper Sentinel, they trigger when something your opponent does happens and you draw a card. Endless Atlas, of course, lets us draw a card if we've got 3 more lands with the same name. Shiva Alliance. Whenever you attack with 2 more creatures, we draw a card. And then it also makes tokens, so that's kind of neat. All right, now we've got some removal cards here. We've got Aerial Assault, which destroys target tapped creature, and then you gain a life for each creature we control flying. Path to Exile, I'm not even going to go over this, is just another one. Mass Calcify is a mono white deck, so it's kind of nice to destroy all non-white creatures. That's I guess that could almost be win con too. Idyllic Tutor leads into our enchantment, so this is going to be really nice for our enchantment sub-theme. We search for an enchantment into our hand, and it can get us something like Journey to Nowhere, Oblivion Ring, Ossification, Prayer of Binding. These are all kind of removal-y enchantments that I thought worked better than any instants or sorceries because of the enchantment sub-theme. All right, this is a very straightforward deck, and there's just really not much to it. I wouldn't say it's very competitive, but it's probably going to be pretty fun. If you're looking to purchase any of these cards, visit the TCGplayer affiliate link in the description below. And thank you to my Patreon subscribers. They are so most welcomed if you want to join the Manfred Plus Magic Patreon. Every tier has access to the monthly tokens that are printable. I make them all the right size, so all you have to do is print them at home, and it's just perfect. I will catch you next week for your weekly dose of magic.